Hey, family, thank you so much for coming in this Sunday. We appreciate you and my co host, Christy Shin. We got an awesome show for you folks because Ghazel Omar of 357 Magnum Opus is finally coming in and asking, crazy questions from you, the fans, because y'all were asking about it. And you know, you in our shorts. So we decided, you know what, let's go ahead and do it. And so we're gonna do it. And we're gonna ask her like, how did she come up with it, and plus a few other things that you fans sent in for. And part of this whole thing about the Madness Network, we want to know what you guys think. And like you guys have been putting in and checking out on Webtoons as she dropped, this Thursday. And we so thank you so much for that. Um, so let's get into it and let's talk with Gazelle and just have a fun time.
Mhm.
Gazelle, are you still there?
It's
I
probably
am, but
cutting
I
out.
do apologize in advance that my audio will be in and out. So
Oh,
It doesn't need to
no
be
worries.
perfect. It's okay. My
It
internet was
doesn't.
all screwy last week.
All right. So, Gazelle, check this out. Everyone wants to know, how did you develop this idea for 357?
okay, so I actually wrote a screenplay back when I was in college. So I had a class, and I was got kicked off by the song "Psycho Killer" by the Talking Heads, and I had this idea for a bunch of like hitmen and just a regular activity, going to a barbecue, hanging out. So that's where the concept began. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the draft that actually eventually became the graphic novel itself was quite different than what I started with, and it was just a time in my 20s, just writing and having fun with it for class, and that's how it began. And then I put it away, didn't do anything with it. When I moved to Afghanistan for a few years, that's where I'm originally from. I took it out and I was like, what did I write? And so I rewrote, like, I'd say 75-85% of it, and just changed up a lot of it. Yeah, so it's just a process. You read it, rewrite it, go back to it. So um yeah, maybe in the future I would rewrite it again in an alternative world. This is what would happen instead. So
So, what started the story of 357 Magnum? The story itself, like what I know is from the Talking Heads, but like what exactly is it about for people that haven't read it and they're just getting introduced into your work?
yeah, so it's about a couple bounty hunters from Las Vegas, and they've been tasked to get this felon from in LA, and they're doing it for money, and they have their own issues that they're dealing with. And what triggers the issues is the fact that they lost their partner, and
Mhm.
now they're working for the guy who is kind of part of the whole uh, criminal underground of why their partner died and such. And not to say that these bounty hunters are angelic themselves, right? They do some things that they're not supposed to be doing either, but they have their own codes as well. So when I wrote it, I just wanted a really badass female heroine, and that's how I developed Sex Pistol. I was into punk rock, I was into alternative music, so um, that's how I developed her. So made her the main character. I didn't see that back in the day where there weren't very many, strong women being portrayed in movies and kicking butt. So that's how it originally started.
Dude, that's epic. So, Dilbert3822 asks, you introduced, really introduced, you know, you introduced very new concept in storytelling with different scenes. Where did you decide to come up with these scenes that readers had never seen before and deliver to the audience?
Okay,
And
Gilbert, that's
when are you coming back to Chicago?
okay. That's an awesome question, Gilbert. Thank you. It's just you read a lot, you watch a lot, you see what's out there, you just keep brainstorming, rewriting, and writing, and um, I was really inspired by, some of the famous movie directors at that time, at the time still very famous, Tarantino, Aronofsky, Guy Ritchie. So I would say, their movies kind of gave me some ideas. The original draft of this was very much like Pulp Fiction. I was like, I cannot write a sea level of Pulp Fiction. So, but those movies really inspired me reading their scripts, and such. So a lot of the inspiration for that, for that world, for those kind of characters came from those movies. And in Chicago, I did apply for the March show. I'm hoping to be there with my second book. So if it happens, great. If I get in, so I'm looking forward to it. I love Chicago. It was my favorite event back in 2020.
The next question that the fans are asking. So, what helped develop the villain in this story? Because everyone is very morally gray and they're hunting down this character, and the character has this plan, but where did it come from? And how did he? Are you going to do a prequel? Oh, he misspelled prequel. Sorry, I didn't mean to like call that out, but so how did you? Are you planning on a prequel with the character? Or are you going to develop something else with the character? Everyone was just kind of curious about it.
Yeah, so the character was originally named John Sink, and it was again during my class. My teacher had she knew a character who named John Sink, and he was just his personality wise. So when I developed that character, it was back in the original drafts. For the prequel, I did change his name to Lyndon Baines because I'm not a fan of Lyndon Baines Johnson, so that's the closest I can get to Lyndon Baines Johnson. So the prequel, I am trying to work on it. However, it wouldn't follow him. It would shed more light on how Sex Pistol and Cassius Delmar lost their partner Dylan, right? And that underground world is explored a bit more with the villain Lyndon Baines, but also with La Cabra. She is shown as in a flashback, and right before Dylan is killed toward the third end of Act 3. So basically, I would delve more into how that happened, and I think La Cabra will be a very cool villain to explore. I think she'll be more fascinating than Lyndon Baines.
Oh, that's badass, dude. So, okay, so as a fan that has read this script and read the comic and everything, and I'm gonna let you and Christy like take this over. Like, one of the things that I love that you guys did was you being a punk rock chick and just being like, hey, we need to name, the main character Sex Pistol, and like the fans, gravitated towards that and they just ran with it. Um, like as a person, like, why did you feel like honoring the Sex Pistols, and like, why did you feel like, hey, check this music industry out for punk rock music with just a simple name? Like, I've checked out interviews with you, and you've always like, yeah, this is one of my favorite bands I listen to. Like, what calls you to do that, man? Like, that's really cool. Because there's a lot of people that have hit up my email over this, over just the fact that you were like calling out the Sex Pistols through the character. Like, like a lot of people are like sharing music now because you decided to make your character named Sex Pistol in honor of your favorite band. Like, what made you want to do that?
So the Sex Pistols aren't my favorite band. They are a very cool punk rock band. I do have other bands that are my favorites, also in the punk genre.
Tell me, Angry
And
Stones.
yeah, there's many great bands. The Sex Pistols were, the most probably notorious. And it's just a cool name to have, right? So that's,
Right.
it stood out. Um, I could have named the character Jello Biafra, but I don't think most people would have got that, unless you're a big Dead Kennedys fan, and I'm sure Jello wouldn't have liked it either. But I just thought it was a cool name for a character. I didn't want to keep something that was just out, I didn't want to keep it so basic. So that's primarily it. But music really plays a big part in what I write. So it really helps inspire the scenes and the characters and their personalities. So it just depends what book I'm working on. So this one was really driven by rock music, 80s music, 90s music. So um, I would like to feel like the music plays a big part in the scenes and in the characters' personalities.
So, what comic books are you like reading right now and exploring and hoping other fans are just wanting to check out?
Well, I just supported a couple on Kickstarter. I'm trying to do some more Kickstarters. I really like what independent creators do. Um, One True Love by Mario is really cool. I'm looking forward to that. So I'm trying to get more into the Kickstarters. I just read Callie. Callie was cool. Really like the artwork more so than anything. It was just a big book, and it really stands out. It's like something you're definitely going to keep, and you're like, wow, this is definitely something I want to get signed by the creators. Uh, so what I've done is like past shows, every time I'm exhibiting a show, I try to buy a couple books, and then I'm trying to go through my lists. And another Kickstarter that I just supported recently was called Big Hype. So that's Doug Wood's book. So if I know there's a cool Kickstarter, I'd love to learn about it and go, okay, yeah, this is something cool I like to check out. Um, I I wish I could read more comic books. I time is fraught. I don't have the most time in the world, but if I could, I would definitely read more. I have a lot to go through. I do read a lot of screenplays when I can. Those really help me in terms of structuring certain scenes. Uh, but I think what some independent creators are doing and how they're leveraging platforms like Kickstarter and being able to tell really cool different stories. I also like graphic memoirs. Graphic memoirs are something that I really enjoy reading. I'm also reading right now. What is it called? There's a show called on Netflix. It's called Cocaine Coast. Um,
Mhm.
and a show on Netflix that's based on it. So it's called Farina. And then The Best We Can Do is also another graphic, as one of my favorite graphic memoirs. So I encourage anybody if they can get their hands on that to check that out as well.
So the last question we got to ask you because again, thank you so much for your time to help build the Madness Network and everything we're trying to do here. Um, what's crazy about your story is Hollywood is knocking at your door, like you've got 2 to 3 directors trying to like take 357 and make it a movie, and you're like seeing their visions and all of that stuff. And for you young creators like watching these shows like here on the Madness Network, the reason why we invited 357's creator Ghazel Omar on is because, man, she is a hustler. She's an entrepreneur. She just knows how to do business. And we wanted to invite her here so that you guys would learn how to, develop your, even if it's a snippet, just a snippet. But like, how does it feel to know that these people are knocking on your door after, I mean, you must, like you told me privately, you've been doing this 12, 10, 12 years, and then finally, here's the payoff. Like, how does it feel that your hard work is finally being noticed? And what can you inspire the viewers to do? Like, inspire them to keep going and all that stuff. Like, what's your advice?
So it's also thank you again for having me on your show. Apologies I couldn't turn on the camera. Next time I definitely will. But It's awesome. It's cool that I've had a couple folks interested in taking it to the next level. We'll see what happens, right? If it goes that direction, that'll be great to see something that you create on the big screen or the TV screen with with how everything's appearing on Netflix and Amazon and HBO these days, to see your characters come alive. So that would be really, really cool. It just depends on, chemistry. It depends on director's vision. A lot of things have to happen. I've been told getting a movie made in Hollywood is like one of the hardest things. So it'd be great, but at the same time, I really enjoyed making this a graphic novel, and I'm really having a kick making the second one. The first one took a long time, really costly. Learned a lot of lessons through it all, and so knew what to avoid the second time around. I encourage anybody who has a story that they want to tell. If you're a writer, keep writing, and if you're an artist, look for writers. And if you're a writer, learn the craft of like how the artist works. Learn the panels, learn the layouts, learn as much as the other people who are going to be part of the process. Learn what the editor does, the letterer does, and just because you'll enjoy the process more, and I think it'll be just more efficient, and your inputs will be valued. So I encourage everyone to network as much as they can, support one another, of course. Um, but I always say learn what the artist is doing, how they're doing their work. And if you have a story, you don't have to necessarily publish a 160-page book. You can start small. You can also go to Webtoons. 357 Magnum Opus just launched on Webtoons this past week. So it's 34 episodes, one rolling out each Thursday on Webtoons and Tapas. And basically, you can start with something small. There's different, viewers are using different formats. It doesn't always have to be something print. It can always just be something digital. So you can look into your budget for that. If you're looking to raise money, again, there's Kickstarter. There's Kickstarter alternatives as well. And it just go for it. And I find that the community is so helpful, and everybody I speak to always is encouraging, and they always give great advice. So if there's a few creators that you really like, develop those relationships and share their work. And it's all about you got to give to get also. So feel free to give out as much love to other creators when you can. But I would even recommend, like, there's magazines like Mutiny, for example. You can submit your work to these publications, so you can start small again. It doesn't have to be a big project. And I always recommend, I could have gone the route of trying to find a bigger publisher. I'm a big proponent of self-publishing and owning your own IP, if you can, and just making sure that when you do work with others, just be fair, right? Fair to yourself, fair to other creators that are going to be working with you, in terms of the time they're putting in, their artwork, financial, and such. So what you want for them is what you want for yourself. So I think in the long run, if you think of it as a long-term game and not something of short-term, what you're looking to do, and take your time with it. You don't have to rush yourself. My first book took me 7 years. I went through many artists, eventually landed on Ming Chen Chen, and I got very lucky. And I always told him, I'm like, maybe it was meant to be, where like I meet Tim, and then I meet you through Tim. And I was just like, because your artwork, your style of drawing just matched the stories brilliantly, and I couldn't have asked for a better artist. So, and it just take your time with it. But I encourage reading as many comic books, graphic novels, screenplays, and building your network on the different social media channels as well.
All right. Well, the last question that the viewers were asking, that I'm going to ask, and it's for you and Christy. Flip, thank you so much for your show. But as a female, can you ask Christy and Gazelle, what is it like to be a female in comics and developing your stories? And please share the hardships, the triumphs, and how you guys will develop in the future. Ooh, that's all y'all, homies. I'm sorry, like
You
I'm
want to go
out of
first?
that one. I'm so
Go
out of
first?
that one.
Or do you want me to go? I don't care.
Christy, you go first. You go first.
Okay, how many more minutes do we have left? I just don't want to take it because
We got 10 minutes, so 5 minutes for you, 5 minutes for her.
okay. Let me know if I need to go switch over. So, long and short, I don't care who you are, you have to be tough. And I don't mean you need to be an asshole. For me, it's just like you learn your lessons, you move forward, but also learn like how to do your work better, how to do your business better, how to do more efficiency. Like for me, I had to table. So it's like, okay, what can I do to set up my table in a way that's the least amount of problems that gets me in and out of cons very well? Like for my book, what resonates with me in making it look like what it does? For me, I go with my gut a lot. And I know some people go like, well, you need to go with analysis and everything. It's like analysis is good, numbers are good, logic is good, but sometimes you have to go with what feels right, not what fear tells you. You can't be fear based when it comes to this business. But then not anybody, like there are people that are jerks and they're not very nice people, but there's also people that are really willing to help you and be your friend. So you have to pick and choose at what you need to do. And I think it's like you have to kind of center it on you. And I know people go like, oh, that's self-centered. But what I'm going to say about this, it's like if you focus on what you want and what you want to do, you're actually less selfish because you're not going like, oh, I'm trying to be altruistic. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be altruistic. What I'm saying is that if you're operating a place where you know yourself and what your needs are going to be fulfilled, the better you can give to people. And like the more you can quell conflicts down with as minimal effort as possible to even expanding upon relationships and behaviors and things like that. So all in all, it's kind of one of those things. You have to also act like you belong there. And I don't mean with a chip on your shoulder, because I've been asked that, like, oh, if as a woman, as a minority, as this and that and this and the other thing, how do you deal with all this stuff? And I said, well, I don't think about it. I just do what I want to do and I act like I belong there. That's it. I'm there to do a job. I'm there to do my work. If you don't like it, leave me alone. If you do like it, or if you like it, or if you don't like my work, fine. I'm not going to be upset. You have to have a healthy thing of self and listening to feedback. I hopefully
Cool.
that's enough time.
What what do you got, Gazelle?
Again, I don't think about it like as a woman, like, oh, I should be doing this. Oh, or it's affecting me this way. I just write the stories I want to write, and um, yeah, I try to be as sensitive to things as I can, but at the same time, they're just stories. It's you can only take yourself so seriously. um, I don't know how to answer it, but as a woman, I'd like to see more women creators out there. I would love to see more women. Um, and it's interesting because there'll be like a show that I don't get into, and I'm always kind of curious what the male to woman ratio was at that event, especially in the artist alley. Uh, and I'm like, so I would love to see more women creators participate. I'd also like to see opportunities for those who are financially disadvantaged, whether you're a male or a female, be able to get opportunities to get your book out there at these events, at the Comic Cons. So having the bigger players, the Reed Pops of the world, the Fan Expo folks, be able to set up, a portion of tables aside where maybe you charge a Marvel or an Image a little bit more, but you can give an opportunity to those folks that can't afford paying $300 to $500 for a table. Um, so there's some folks that will, that don't get charged at all. And I think they can extend that to people being financially disadvantaged. Find out, I'm fortunate enough where I can pay that, and it doesn't bother me. But again, it's not like a gender thing more so. It's more like opportunity. I would love for more opportunities for everybody.
Mhm.
I've been on Twitter spaces where people couldn't afford the copyright. And I told them no matter what, find a way to pay that copyright, and that's like $50 to $75. So imagine you're creating all this work and you want to get your work out there, but there's financial issues, right? You got bills to pay and such. So I think those opportunities extending beyond what your gender is, you have great stories to tell. I think there needs to be some more consideration for that.
Mhm.
That's fantastic. All right, well, folks, thank you so much for dropping in on this, you know, small show every Sunday, and I appreciate it because you guys come in, you watch, and we record. And again, this is like supposed to be, as if you went to a comic book, shop and just learn how comic books are created, and hopefully inspire you folks to um, draw, write, ink, letter comic books. But most importantly, just, like, get into the fandom and just make sure it's always a positive experience. Because there's, you know, like me and DL said last time on the last show, um, he and I, ex Army Rangers, we love um, She-Hulk, and we were just like, yeah, we don't want certain things from the She-Hulk comics going into uh, the TV show because we have kids. Y'all, some of y'all don't. That's fine. Um, but like this is the time where we get to talk with creators, listen to what they're thinking, and explore what's going on, and we get to have fun with comics. So please share the channel, share our thoughts, our opinions, and if you disagree, hey, we will air them here. This is like being in a comic shop. Just, again, we're a new channel. That's great. And thank you, Pops, for allowing us to be part of your network. Um, we just want to have fun, and you know, the world is dark enough. Let's just have fun, read comics, share thoughts, and, you know, help each other see a brighter future. All right. Until next time, thank you so much.
Bye bye.
No problem, guys. Take care. Bye.